Alright, so this is the fourth entry of the Tamen TCG card profile. It is the Terra starter set pre-alpha. This is the set that will be played during playtesting, and after playtesting there will be some editing done to make sure that the cards are refined. And basically what it means is that card text is subject to change. So with the Terra starter set, what I wanted to come across was heavy damage while also focusing on, I guess, stunning your opponents, but in a different way from the Verdant deck. So in the Verdant deck, it stuns your opponents outright by stunning their creatures. In this deck, it stuns your opponent by locking them out of summoning multiple monsters, or if you can make the play good enough, any monsters, probably. And if you can, this is probably like each deck has its own thing to where it's like, oh, this is too good. But so I just got to see just how good all these cards are. Um, So I'm gonna get started on this. It's gonna take me a minute to get through this. I've noticed that these videos I make are like 20 something minutes long. So I'm gonna get started because that just actually added a minute to it, didn't it? Yeah, it did. So the first creature is Mountain Club Goblin. It is a Terra 2, meaning it takes up 2 spaces on the field to be summoned. It is a humanoid ogre with a strike of 15, a guard of 10, and a range of 2. It has no stance abilities, but it does have a main ability where it gains 5 strike for each Terra humanoid ogre on the field. So every time you have one of these goblins on the field, it will give an extra 5 points. Um, it was originally 25, but then when I made this video, I was like, well, that's way too powerful for a small creature like that. So I changed it up a bit, and I can go into detail about what it does later, or if I have enough time, I'll go back to it. Uh, So also, a lot of these creatures are very, very big. Like this is the smallest creature at 2, and the rest are like 3 and 4. So um, these creatures are powerful, but they are also very big. So you have to think of a strategy in order to have them summoned onto the board, and rather than just having like one creature. Although I guess this creature can pair with any other creature, basically. Um, the next one is Rockhead Capperhorn. Rockhead Capperhorn is a Terra 3 Beast Bovid. It has a strike of 30, a guard of 20, and a range of 1. It has 1 stance ability, which is in the A stance. You can tap the card, target one size 3 or lower rival, and roster that target. So he is for soft removal, which basically means, you know, it's not permanently off the field, but it is set back some. It does have a main ability, which has options, where if you target a tap rival, you can fell a size 2 or lower target, meaning that that is a more permanent removal, or you can roster a size 3 or lower target. I think that ability is a little redundant, so I might just take it out completely, because there's no point in it being in here if it can do it anywhere. But I'll see how it plays out. Territorial Steer is another Terra 3 Beast Bovid with a strike of 30, a guard of 35, and a range of 1. It only has 1 stance ability, which is the G stance. You can tap the card, target a rival, and do 15 Terra damage, and also rival shift 1, meaning that you will move the rival one space to over, whether it's the left or right. Just like with Bush Toro Steer from the Verdant deck, it is used to control your opponent's movements and make you get closer in range of one of your other creatures in order for them to do their thing, or to move them away from your creatures so that you can have a more extensive play. Um, its main ability is that it can target a size 3 or lower tapped rival and fell that target. So if there is a rival who has already used an ability, or if you attacked it previously with another creature, that creature can be sent to the discard pile through the fell ability. So yeah, these two cards are both very aggressive in terms of stall, removal, and a slight bit of control. There's not a lot of control there, but there's a slight bit of control with the rival shifting. All right, so the fourth entry is Mountainback Tortoise? Mountainback Sank Tortoise. It's supposed to be Sank Tortoise. Sank Tortoise. It is a Terra 3 creature. I did not put its... oh, there it is. It's on the wrong side. It is a Terra 3 Beast Reptile with a strike of 25, a guard of 55, and a range of 1. It has 2 stance abilities, B and G. In the B stance, you can tap this card, and while tapped, it will size loss one size 2 or lower ally Terra. My brain got confused for a second. But size loss 1, size 2 or lower ally Terra. The sentencing is weird, so I gotta change that. But basically, what it is saying you can reduce the cost of your other Terra creatures by 1 if they are size 2 or lower. So this works well with Goblin here. So you can summon Terra, um, have Goblin on the field, activate Terra's ability. Goblin will be at 1, so that'd be 3, 4, and then there's other abilities that will lower size as well, and then you'll be able to summon even more Goblins, so that you can get that ability going while also having some defense on the field, because he has a very high defense. And also his main ability, his G stance ability, is when you tap him, activate one Terra field event, which is the strategy I just explained. It allows you to hit that off more easily. And then his main ability is that Garngate 5 each set phase while Terra event is active, so he gains 5 defense each set phase if you have a Terra event card on the field. So he is definitely for a defensive strategy, as well as boosting up your other creatures on the field, or lowering them to boost them up, something like that. Mountain Club Ogre is a Terra 4 humanoid ogre with a strike of 45, a guard of 50, and a range of 1. He has 1 stance ability, which is the A stance. Tap the card, you can stance lock 2 until the end phase. So stance lock 2 pretty much means that you can lock 2 stances on the field. I might have to change his range to 2 just so that works correctly, because what everything means is that you can choose 2 stances, but it has to be within range of the creature. So I gotta give him like a range of 2. I wanted to give him a range of 1 because he's pretty powerful, but if I want that to work, I'm gonna have to give him a range of 2. Uh, he has a main ability where you can tap the card, discard size 2 or lower rival in range. That's why. So in the range of this creature, you can discard. This is an early design, so that's why it says discard, but it should say fell size 2 or lower rival within range, because ogres, and they're known for their very brute strength and tenacity, and just destroying things on sight, grinding their bones and all that stuff. So that's why this ability is what it is. So I'm gonna have to try and figure this out. I might have to just do stance lock 1 instead of stance lock 2. I'll figure it out. Now on to the gear portion of the deck. This is the first one, Geo Barrier. It is just like all the other barrier cards in the other decks. Negate rival ability or rival damage towards the Tamen that activates this trigger. I forgot to mention that it is a Terra trigger type gear. I just want to make sure that I tell you what the kind of cards these are, um, just so you can have a little bit more sense of what it's supposed to do. Um, the rival that attacks this card, the rival that attacks the creature that activated this card, they are tapped until the next end phase. So they are tapped for an entire turn. And the rival that attacks this card with size 3 or 5, uh, they lose 10 strike until the next end phase. So for a whole turn, you mess up your opponent's creature from doing additional damage and disruption. It's not that powerful, but it's good enough. I might change it, but it seems good enough for what it is right now. Shatterstone is a Terra trigger, another Terra trigger, which has the ability of when a rival attacks the creature, which is rival damage, 5 Terra damage rivals in range of the Tamen that activated this trigger. So every creature within range of the creature that activated this card will receive 5 Terra damage. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is elemental damage, and elemental damage does allow you to do some extra things. So I may not change. I think I want to put it up to 10, but I may leave it at 5 for now. And it does say, and it doesn't say that it is specific, so it is a pretty generic support for it. It is for Terra, but it's a very generic support. So if you want to put it with other cards, you can, at least for now. Uh, Another generic support, Tectonic Tunic. Tectonic Tunic is a Terra equip type gear card. It has a guard gain of 10, a range loss of 1. The equipped Tamen cannot be tapped by rival abilities, so it prevents your opponent from disrupting a piece of your play by allowing the creature equipped with this card to not be tapped unless they use their own ability. Precipice Spear. Precipice Spear is a Terra humanoid equip type gear with a range gain of 1, strike gain of 5. Um, you can discard this card to target a rival. The rival of size 0 or 2 gets 10 Terra damage and the target is tapped. Rival of size 3 to 5 takes 10 Terra damage, but nothing happens to it. So I want to see if I should change that up a little bit so that the larger creature gets tapped and the smaller creature gets like some kind of extra damage. But again, I'll see how it plays off in ooh, my voice broke, in playtesting, and then I'll change it from there. And this is also a very generic gear, except for the fact that it is a humanoid equip card, so that it can only be used by humanoid creatures. Quake Hammer is another humanoid equipped Terra gear. Um, it tap 2, meaning that you tap the creature for 2 turns that has this card, and you can tap rivals in range of that creature. 10 Terra damage to the tapped rivals. Rivals tapped before this ability. Okay, so 10 Terra damage to the tapped rivals that were affected by this ability here. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. By this ability here. And it has a secondary ability where rivals tap before this ability activated. So rivals that were already tapped, if they are size 0 to 2, you can fell those rivals, meaning you can discard them to put them in the discard pile. And if they're 3 to 5, they take 10 Terra damage because they're already tapped, so there's not much more you can do with them. Alright. And again, this is very generic gear, except for the fact that it is a humanoid equip. These are supposed to be used for the Goblin and the Ogre. So, yeah. But it can also be used with other humanoids as well, as I said before. Um, Now we are getting into the events. For the first event, we have Faultline Tremor. It is a Terra Strike event, and the ability is untapped rivals that receive Terra damage are tapped until the next set phase. Um, for a whole turn, those opponents cannot do anything if you hit them with elemental damage. Uh, Disruption is guard lost 10 allies in play. So in exchange for dealing some serious damage and I guess somewhat breaking up your opponent's defense, you will lose your own defense if you cannot do it correctly. Uh, During the set phase, you can tap up to 2 ally terror in play, tap rivals in range of the allies that use this ability. Hmm. Yes, okay, so this would work well with Territorial Steer, um, the Quake Hammer. That was my phone. So yeah, it works well with cards like Territorial Steer, Quake Hammer, cards where if you're already tapped, you'll receive more damage. That's what this card is for. And during the strike phase, allied Terra strike damage becomes Terra damage, so you can deal elemental damage with regular strike points, and that goes especially well if you equip them with gear that boosts their strike points. High Ground. Oh, sorry about that. That smack. High Ground is a Terra field event. The ability is size loss 1, guard gain 5, size loss 1, and guard gain 5, ally Terra in play, meaning that all Terra creatures on the field will lose 1 size, but they will gain 5 guard. Um, the importance of size is that it allows you to summon more monsters, but it does make them weaker to abilities of like removal and whatnot. So that's something you want to pay attention to, and that's what this deck does. It sacrifices size for power. So pay attention to that when you if you play this deck. Disruption. If you get disrupted and you can't perform any of these abilities, tap allies in play until the strike phase. I'll say the next strike phase. Make sure there's a real punishment there, and that it's not just you do something and then, well, in the very next phase you can undo it. No, that's not. I don't want to have that. So during the set phase, Terra allies can be revealed the same turn they are set, so you can quickly summon out creatures when you put them onto the roster. And with the high ground ability of size loss 1, you can summon more creatures, most likely. I remember there was a thing I was doing with the in like one of the paint programs where I was putting the cards together, and it was like a really ridiculous combo. But I'm not doing combos right now. I'm just going through the cards. So I'll look for that in a later video, and I will let you know when I make those. Uh, During the strike phase of high ground, Terra damage is doubled. So elemental damage from Terra creatures, if they do if they do elemental damage, is doubled, and that's very destructive. But it's not for this card, so that might be a little bit more tricky if I can remember what the other cards did. Yeah, when it comes to other creatures having Terra damage in like future sets, this card will be something that's something to look forward to, something to look back at. All right, another entry: Mountain Range, a Terra field event where the ability is ally Terra in play, all lose one size. So again, sacrificing size for power. Uh, the disruption is you tap ally Terra until the next set phase. Uh, during the draw, during the draw phase, you can draw one ally Terra for each stance that does not have an ally in play. Shuffle non-Terra allies drawn by this ability into the main deck. So you're going to keep drawing cards for however many spaces you have on the field, empty spaces you have on the field, and whatever card isn't a Terra card, you're just going to shuffle it back into the deck. That's it. Uh, During the set phase, allied Terra can be revealed the same turn they are set. So once again, this allows you to fast summon. During the strike phase, Terra range gain 1, so it gives you a little bit more range to see or to attack, which I guess this could be really good for the Goblin or for the Ogre. So I could take that range, so I can keep that range on him because he only has one. He only has one range, right? Yeah, he only has one range. So if you use that mountain, then you can use him more properly, which is great. So keep that in mind. Mountain Ogre, Mountain Range Ogre. During the end phase, if you want, you can activate one Terra Strike event, but that means that you have to discard this card in order to do so. You can only activate one event at a time. I don't think I specified that in other videos, but yeah, you can only use one event at a time. So, if you don't want to do this, uh, you have to do it, because if you don't, then you have to do the disruption. But maybe I'll change that to where it's optional. Like you can activate one Terror Strike event, maybe, seeing how well it goes. All right. Next entry: Rolling Stones is a Terror Strike event. Oh, it's the last one. Target one ally Terra. Tap that target until this card is discarded, and the disruption for not completing any of the tasks is discard the target that is using this card. During the set phase, you can draw Terra gear equal to the size of the target. So if you have a size for Ogre on the field, you can draw 4 Terra gear. But you do have to shuffle whatever isn't Terra gear back into the deck. So I got to add that in there. I forgot to put that in there. I worked on this one late at a night and just forgot about all that. I was like, oh my god, I'm done. Yes. Um, so yeah, you still got to shuffle whatever isn't Terra back into the deck if it isn't Terra. Uh, During the strike phase, Terra damage 5. Let's shrink that in. Terra damage 5 for each Terra ally in roster. So basically, you're gonna do additional damage for every ally that's like set up in the roster, which is what the Rolling Stones represent. It's like you have a bunch of like rocks just sitting up there, and then they're coming down to do damage. All right, so I think that's it for all of this. Oh, 20 minutes. This stuff gets shorter and shorter. I'm getting a little better at it. But yeah, that's it for this one. I am going to once this video is uploaded, the listing should be in the Discord as well, which will have a link in the description. And I'm going to get started on working on the last of the deck filing, which is the Ventus. That is the Wind deck. So I'm going to get started on it now, and I will see you in the next one.